Hello friends, this is Mayuresh. So welcome to my next video. So in this video I am going to explain you about the Linux installation process. So first of all, let us do some preparation. So first of all, make sure that there is no data on the laptop on which you want to install the Linux. If necessary, take backup on a separate hard disk or on cloud, etc. And make sure the laptop has a good internet connection, because during the installation process it will need this connection for multiple things. The laptop should have an internal or external hard disk or an internal or external solid state drive, that is SSD. So make sure at least 20 or 30 GB are available for the core Linux installation, excluding any your data or any third-party softwares, etc., etc. RAM wise, minimum 4 GB is preferred, but more the RAM you have, the better it will be and faster the installation can be. And you will need a blank USB pen drive of at least 8 GB capacity for the installation. So after you are done with this basic preparation, some more steps, now the main steps will follow. So first I will give an overview in this slide. So first of all, choose which flavor and version of the Linux OS you want to install and go ahead and download the same from the internet. So typically this will be a single ISO file of a few GBs. Typically it is around 4 GB, but the latest specific size may vary depending upon the flavor and version. After you have downloaded this ISO file, you need to create a bootable Linux installation USB drive. That's the reason I mentioned about the requirement of a pen drive in the last slide. Now how to create this bootable drive, I will explain you in the next slide. Let's consider the next steps first. So suppose you have already created this bootable drive, then you need to install this USB drive into the laptop on which you want to install Linux. Then you need to configure the BIOS or UEFI. UEFI is just the latest version of BIOS actually. Now the BIOS has become obsolete since a few years, and UEFI is the thing or the firmware which is used instead of the BIOS. It is the latest version actually of BIOS, you can say. So you need to configure the BIOS or the UEFI so that the laptop will boot from the USB drive, because generally by default the laptop boots from the hard disk or the SSD, so that you need to change it to boot from the USB drive. After you are done with this, you can reboot or boot the laptop and it will now boot from the USB drive and the installation process should start. And generally for simple basic installations where you are going to use the whole disk, you will not need to go into any complex things like partitioning, etc., etc. Just choose the default options mostly, and in 10 to 15 minutes I think the installation process should finish. So this was the overview. Now in the next slide we will just see a little bit more details. So we had skipped about how to create the USB drive, that is the bootable Linux USB drive that we had skipped in the last slide. Now let us consider the process for the same. So insert the USB pen drive, that is the blank pen drive of typically 8 GB capacity at least. So you can insert this USB drive into any existing working laptop. For simplicity, let's assume that this particular laptop is also Linux. Now execute the command lsblk from the CLI. After you will see some output. In that you will see various device paths. So try to find out which device path belongs to this particular USB drive in which you have just inserted the pen drive. Let's assume that it is /dev/sdc, because generally the /sda will be for the hard disk, etc. And So suppose it is /dev/sdc, then you need to execute the command umount /dev/sdc, so that it will unmount the drive on which the USB is inserted. And after this, execute the following command, which is appearing on the slide: sudo dd if equal to the name of the ISO file. So you have downloaded the ISO file, that is the Linux installation file. So the same name with complete path if necessary you have to mention. IF is the input file actually. So currently I am assuming that the file is in the current directory, but if it is not in the current directory, you will need to specify the full path or the relative path. OF is equal to /dev/sdc, that is the same drive or the same device path in which you have inserted the USB drive, okay, from which you want to create the bootable. Next option is BS equal to 64M, that is block size is equal to 64 megabytes. Conv equal to fdatasync, status equal to progress. So this complete command you have to execute after making suitable modifications as per your customized scenario. So once you have successfully it will take a few minutes actually to execute this command, and to return it successfully. It will show you the progress because we have chosen status equal to progress. So after a few minutes it will complete and return successfully, and then your bootable drive is ready, and then you can follow the steps that are mentioned in the previous slide. Okay, so some more points related to installation. Now in the last couple of slides I have just covered a very basic kind of a Linux installation process, mostly targeted at beginners or who are hesitating to switch to Linux, etc. But if you are an experienced or advanced user, and if you need multiple partitions and multiple installations, etc., then you will need to manually do the partitioning of your hard disk or SSD. So for that you need to watch my other YouTube video that explains everything about the disk partitioning and the various file systems, etc. So that is out of the scope of this video. Now, as I mentioned, there is a BIOS system also and the new UEFI system also, but the process for creating the bootable drive is the same for both kinds of BIOS systems. So this video will work for both BIOS as well as the UEFI systems. The process and the methods or the steps are exactly the same. The same pen drive can be used for installing on a BIOS laptop also, and the same pen drive you can use to install Linux on a UEFI laptop also. Okay, so no need to create separate bootable drives for separate kind of BIOS systems. Now, as far as the Linux installation process is concerned, that is also the same, whether it is for the BIOS system or BIOS type of laptops or the UEFI type of laptops, except for one step. Only one step is different as far as the main installation is concerned. So for UEFI, what you need to do is that just one extra step you need to do, that is you need to create a EFI partition of at least 1 GB and mark it bootable. So this will be during the installation process. The menus will come. So instead of selecting the default partitioning, you will need to first create the EFI partition of at least 1 GB and mark it as bootable. So this is the only one extra or different step that you have to do in case of UEFI type of laptops. Otherwise, for BIOS laptops, the same steps will work. Now, if you are new to all this partitioning and all, so again, please watch my other video which discusses more about the disk partitioning, file systems, etc. Okay, but for the time being, I think this information should be more than sufficient to get you started. So thanks for watching my video, and wish you all the best with your Linux installation. And please feel free to write any comments as to which flavor or version you installed, whether you faced any issues and how was the installation experience, And any tips or more information you want to add, then you can add. And of course, do subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and share my videos in your network and various WhatsApp groups, etc. So thanks a lot, and have a nice day. Take care. Bye.